So, I mean, the first question is more about why you decided to launch Mass Reports. When did you
Yeah.
start the business? How does it work?
Sure. Okay, cool. So I was a land agent working in London, covering Southeast London. What was happening was every month we were sending out sometimes up to about 1,000 letters to landowners, and I had to appraise these sites very, very quickly. I started calling in favours from architects, which ran dry, obviously. And basically what we need to do is work out very quickly and inexpensively what you could get on a site so that you felt comfortable not only valuing it for the vendor, but also taking it to buyers and ultimately taking it to lenders. So that was the product. So we've been going about 18 months fully. And it really came out of necessity, really. I needed a tool, and the ones out there were quite expensive, so I needed to find something less expensive.
What does yours cost for
So we
developers?
started £150. So that's a planning policy report. What we'll do is we'll get you all the facts and figures around the planning policy that's relevant to your site, and also similarly to what you want to do on your site. Then we'll find you any comparable evidence and some precedent set as well, so that you can look at a site and go, actually, yes, I believe that we can do something here. Then we can take it a step further and do some drawings for you so that you can then work out, does this site even work in the first place? If it doesn't, it's better to fail early and then carry on other sites.
Sure. What would you say is the biggest benefit for property developers in particular to use this service?
Sure. Well, there are a few actually, but basically, as most developers will know, the moment you flag up to anyone that their site is worth any money, they start talking to absolutely everyone, and you're in very, very near danger of losing a site. So the main benefit of our reports is that they come back to you in 2 to 3 working days. They are created by REBA qualified architects, with very inexpensive, like I've said a couple of times already, but also they're so factual that you can be very confident in putting forward your offer and going forward with it, because everywhere that we mention any policy or comparable or any information that's going to enhance your site, we always show you where we found it. We provide a link so that you can then go, with an educated stance and say, yes, this does work. Let's start looking at it in greater detail.
Sure. And what additional features can be utilised by property developers and investors and how can it potentially help them securing funding?
Sure. Like again, whenever we find any information, we always show where we found it. So my actual real sort of game was that when we first started out, it's all good and well telling a developer that you can get 20 units on a site. They tie up an arrangement with the landowner, but then as soon as it gets to them getting funding, it falls apart because the due diligence from the lender actually says, do you know what, you can only get 10 on there, in which case you wasted everyone's time. So what I think is great is that you can take and we are working with several lenders at the moment to create a product to back this up, but you can take it to your lender and say, look, these are the facts. Do you agree with us? And you can do it very quickly. Yeah, there doesn't, arguably what I really want to be doing is creating a product that all the lenders and they say, do you know what, if you come together with this piece of documentation, yeah, we'll look at it very, very seriously. So that's hopefully it. We had one lender that said, yeah, I'll hang my coat on it. If we can get every lender saying that, I'll be over the moon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How else can it help lenders assess deals and potentially speed up the process?
Well, just the fact that all the information's there. A lot of due diligence takes a lot of time. So the fact that all the information is there for them in a nicely packaged report, then hopefully that will save them time as well. So I think having all the information, what we're doing is not rocket science at all. The information is absolutely out there, but all the local authorities have a totally different platform and format of presenting all the information. So what we do is we use architects and planners to aggregate all that information and put it in a very clear and concise manner, so that anyone trying to find that information can do it very quickly through our process. I've worked with several local authorities now, and Every single one is different. And anyone that's done any sort of due diligence of their own will know that getting something back in 2 to 3 working days is nigh on impossible unless you have a team of people to do that.
Sure. How else could this tool help with increasing sustainability and a focus on social well-being when it comes to placemaking and house building going forward, seeing as this
Sure.
is likely to be something that will become more
Yeah.
of a bigger thing just due to the outbreak?
Yeah, and I for one am so happy that this is coming to the forefront of people's minds. Everyone is now thinking about quality of life, and I think this really needs to come down to also the developers that aren't necessarily doing self-build, but actually developing for several people or several families. So we've actually just employed a lady. She's just graduated from Liverpool University, studying sustainability in property development, which is amazing. She started with us just this Monday just gone. So what we're actually going to be doing is looking at different elements that can enhance the sustainability of the development, right from man-made materials, which are more sustainable, to reusing existing materials, which again is more sustainable, to renewable energy. We will look, she's very much, well, her dissertation was specifically on sustainability in mass construction. So hopefully we're going to be putting a page within every one of our reports with some form of calculator as well to work out that yes, okay, sustainability can often be more expensive, but it will pay for itself over time. Great if you're a home building your own home, but developers are obviously about the bottom line. I genuinely feel like that people are going to be paying a premium for a sustainable product now, and similarly there are ways of offsetting this, and there are grants as well. So I'm really happy that that things are going that way. It's always been a personal thing that we strive to do in our own house, actually. So yeah, it's a step forward as far as I'm concerned.
That leads me on to my next question on what's the ultimate dream for you on how this tool can be used and potentially change the way that all parties in house building, in the real estate market work, including planning departments, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the big goal is to create a report format in which every single planning application has to adhere to a set format. Now, I know this is an enormous dream, but like I said, every local authority has a separate way of presenting things, and a lot of time and local authority efforts and money is wasted because people submit. I live near St Albans. I've actually seen a floor plan presented on a napkin. Someone has scanned in a napkin. Okay. Now, if we can have a set format that actually adheres to some preliminary design guidelines set out by the council, if you can save time in-house, then I think that's great for everyone. So I think that's the big dream, is to create a very strict format, which if you tick all the boxes, you get through to the next stage. If you adhere to that. But also, I really hope that this sustainability, and green building really does. Some of the suggestions that we're already coming up with are so easy that it would be great if people just, even if you're just thinking about it for the financial benefit, your costs of living will go down. So if we can point that out, then I think that's awesome.
Out of interest, with the floor plan on the napkin, did that get planning?
No, I think it did ultimately, but the fact that it was scrawled on a napkin, it was rejected for the whole. Needless to say, the design and access statement wasn't particularly well scripted either, but it was. These are legitimate applications that are going in. So that was a good one. They did bother to scan it in, I hasten to add.
How, just for our readers who don't know who you are, how did you get into the property industry?
Sure. Well, started off in high street agency when I was 20. Absolutely loved it. Loved the negotiation. Loved the sale of it. But then always had a bit more of interest in finding sites for developers. I then went to sort of a very young tech company, and then just found myself always migrating back to land and finding opportunities for people. I think I've always sort of found property interesting. I've always been a repressed architect as well. Sort of one of the first things I do when I go anywhere is check out some cool buildings and stuff. So that's always been something that's underlying. But similarly, I do, you know, the way that property is going at the moment, there are pockets of land that where development, if it's done well, are really, really enhancing an area, and I just think that's great to be part of.
Out of interest, just from what you just said there, what's the demand been like since March for mass reports from property developers?
Okay, it was great when we were setting everyone up in their own offices. It was brilliant. We thought awesome because it's a fully remote facility. We didn't need to be going to see anyone, and we thought, wow, okay, this is a great thing. Then it went silent for a couple of weeks, which was quite worrying. And then I think people started realizing, actually, right, we do need a pipeline. We need something to be concentrating on afterwards. And we've actually subsequently had our best month we've ever had in the 18 months. And similarly, the best week we've ever had. So I think, yeah, the world did stop, absolutely, and everyone's right to be cautious. But similarly, we all needed something to do after the world started again. So thankfully, that's happened. Also, we've integrated with some quite cool companies as well who are quite forward thinking. And also, luckily as well, we work a lot with housing associations who are going to have a lot of people needing their services after this. So yeah, we've been relatively lucky, touch wood. Yeah.
Congrats. No, that sounds great. I assume the best month was May.
May, well, yeah, absolutely. And then the best week we've ever had was at the beginning of June.
Amazing, well done. And then if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. Definitely something to do with land. I think I'd still be an agent. Absolutely. I'd love to think I'd be on a vineyard somewhere, but no, I think the reality is, yeah, I'd love to be. Agency is one of the most exhilarating places to be as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't got a more eccentric answer than
You dedicated for the industry.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. That's brilliant.
Thanks for your time.